Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we re-journeying to the heart of London to explore a building that has stood as a silent witness to 1,000 years of British history. The magnificent Westminster Abbey. It's more than just a church. It's a royal peculiar, a coronation site, a final resting place for kings, queens, poets, and scientists, and a treasure trove of art and architecture. So, grab a cup of tea, and let's unravel the incredible story of this iconic landmark. The story of Westminster Abbey begins with a blend of legend and history. The earliest tales speak of a shrine founded in the 7th century by Sigebert, the first Christian king of the East Saxons. Legend has it that on the night before its consecration, a fisherman had a vision of St. Peter himself crossing the River Thames to dedicate the church. This is why, for centuries, fishermen from the Thames would bring salmon as an offering to the Abbey on St. Peter's Day. While the legend is enchanting, the Abbey's recorded history truly begins with King Edward the Confessor. In the 11th century, around 1042, he began rebuilding the old Saxon monastery into a grand Romanesque church, fit for a royal burial. He wanted to create a building to rival the great churches of continental Europe. Edward dedicated his new church in 1065. Just a week before his death, he was buried before the high altar, becoming the first of many monarchs to be interred within its walls. And what happened just a year later? The Norman Conquest. On Christmas Day 1066, William the Conqueror was crowned King of England in Edward's newly finished abbey, solidifying its status as the nation's coronation church. This event set a precedent that has continued for nearly a millennium. Every single English and British monarch since William the Conqueror, with just 2 exceptions, has been crowned right here. Can you imagine the sheer weight of history in that moment? For the next 2 centuries, the abbey remained largely as Edward the Confessor had built it, but in the 13th century, another ambitious king, Henry III, decided it was time for a major upgrade. Henry revered Edward the Confessor and wanted to honor him with a shrine that would be the envy of Christendom. So, in 1245, he began a massive rebuilding project, tearing down Edward's Romanesque structure and replacing it with the breathtaking Gothic masterpiece we see today. Henry's vision was inspired by the great cathedrals of France, like Reims and Amiens. He brought in French architects and craftsmen, and the result was a building of soaring height, pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and vast stained glass windows designed to flood the interior with divine light. The new design was revolutionary for England at the time. Henry poured a fortune into the project Tenenbaum, equivalent to the entire annual income of the crown. He even moved Edward the Confessor's body to a magnificent new shrine at the very center of the abbey, a site that became a major pilgrimage destination. Construction under Henry III created the eastern half of the abbey, including the choir, the transepts, and the chapter house, with its stunning medieval tiled floor. But the project was so vast and expensive that when Henry died, the work stopped. For over a century, the abbey stood half-finished, with the new Gothic nave joined awkwardly to the old Romanesque west end. It wasn't until the late 14th century, under the direction of the master mason Henry VII, that work resumed to complete the nave in the same Gothic style. The process was slow, finally reaching completion in the early 16th century. One of the most recognizable additions came during this later period. Around 1503, King Henry VII commissioned a spectacular new chapel at the easternmost end of the abbey. Known today as the Henry VII Chapel or the Lady Chapel, it is a marvel of late perpendicular Gothic architecture. Its most famous feature is the incredibly intricate fan-vaulted ceiling, which looks like it's made of delicate lace spun from stone. It's so elaborate that it seems to defy gravity. Henry VII and his wife, Elizabeth of York, are buried here in a magnificent tomb, marking the union of the houses of Lancaster and York after the Wars of the Roses. The 16th century brought the turbulence of the Reformation. Under King Henry VIII, the abbey, being a Benedictine monastery, was dissolved in 1540. However, unlike many other monasteries that were destroyed, Henry VIII recognized its unique importance. He granted it cathedral status, saving it from demolition. His daughter, Queen Mary I, briefly restored the Benedictine monks, but her sister, Queen Elizabeth I, dissolved the monastery again in 1560. It was Elizabeth who established the abbey as a royale peculiar, This is a fascinating bit of administrative history. It means the abbey is not subject to the authority of any bishop or archbishop, but answers directly to the sovereign. This unique status has protected the abbey and preserved its role as the nation's church, tied directly to the monarchy. The 17th and 18th centuries saw the abbey continue to evolve. The English Civil War saw it damaged by parliamentarian soldiers who used it to train, but it survived. And Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector, was even given a grand funeral, though his body was later disinterred and after the monarchy was restored. Architecturally, the most significant addition from this period is the two western towers. For centuries, the front of the abbey lacked the grand towers envisioned in the original plans. In the 1720s, the renowned architect Nicholas Hawksmoor was commissioned to complete the job. He designed the towers in a pioneering Gothic revival style, creating the iconic silhouette that we recognize instantly today. Beyond coronations and royal burials, the abbey also became the nation's Hall of Fame. This tradition started in the 14th century when the poet Geoffrey Chaucer was buried here, not for his poetry, but because he was the clerk of the king's works. Over time, his tomb became the nucleus of what we now call Poets' Corner. Great literary figures like Charles Dickens, Rudyard Kipling, Alfred Tennyson, and Thomas Hardy were laid to rest here. Memorials to Shakespeare, Jane Austen, and the Brontë sisters also draw literary pilgrims from around the world. And it's not just poets. The abbey is the final resting place of scientists like Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin, whose burials here signified the nation's embrace of scientific discovery. Statesmen, explorers, musicians like Handel, and actors are also honored, making a walk through the abbey a journey through the very fabric of British culture and achievement. The tomb of the unknown warrior, near the west door, is one of the most poignant spots. It holds the body of an unidentified British soldier from the First World War, a powerful symbol of the sacrifice of an entire generation. Throughout its history, Westminster Abbey has been the stage for great national event celebrations, funerals, and weddings. From the funeral of Princess Diana in 1997 to the wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton in 2011, the Abbey has been the place where the nation comes together to mourn and to rejoice. Today, Westminster Abbey is not just a historical monument or a tourist attraction. It is still a living, breathing church with daily services of worship. It stands as a testament to faith, artistry, and the enduring story of a nation. Each stone tells a tale. Each tomb holds a legacy, and its soaring arches continue to inspire awe and reverence in all who step inside. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the history of Westminster Abbey. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. Let me know in the comments which landmark you'd like to see us cover next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.